But I'm telling you, this is one. This domestic thriller is one that you would definitely want to pick up. Hello, book friends. Welcome back. And if you are new to my channel, welcome. My name is Tracy, and today I want to share with you guys my June wrap up. So, for the month of June, I read, 8 books. I read 8 books. I believe 3 of those were on audio. One I did read immersively, and that is going to actually be my first book that I talk about today. I am going to start with the lowest rating to the highest rating. And guys, I did not have any 5-star reads this month. I am so disappointed because I was for sure that I picked some, but you know, the show must go on, and we're going to keep reading until we get that 5-star. So we are going to start with our first book today. Also, let me pause. I'm going to be using my notes, and I may look onto my Goodreads or Fable for one of these books in particular, because I wanted to read my review. I wanted to read it instead of trying to remember it verbatim, because girl, this mind, honey, it has a mind of its own. Okay, so we are going to start with The Girls in the Garden, and this is actually the only book in regards to audio that I have in hard copy. This book is by Lisa Jewell, and I gave this book a 3-star. Okay, I gave it a 3-star. It was different. It was a little different. I have read, other books of Lisa Jewell's, but this one was one of her oldest ones. This one came out actually in, let me see. This one came out in 2015. So this is, an older book of hers. So with keeping that in mind, her writing just got better to me. Okay. So we're talking about our female main character, Clara, in this book. And she has 2 daughters, one by the name of, what was her name? So we have Clara, but we have Claire and Pip. No, we have Grace. I'm sorry. What's her name? Grace? Grace and Pip. Grace and Pip are her 2 daughters. And this is going to be spoiler free. Y'all know I do not like spoilers. I try to stay away from them. So once I start veering that way, we going to cut it off. But we have Clara, and she has been separated from her husband due to some mental issues that he struggled with caused her to move to this new place that takes place in this book. And in that, she has some really, everybody is tight knit. Everybody knows everybody. She has these neighbors who she becomes very friendly with. And there is this community garden that the kids in particular really hang out a lot at. So not long after they have moved there, I believe, one of her daughters, and I can say Grace because I believe it is on the cover. Let me see. Yes, Grace, which is the older sister, she ends up being found by her younger sister in the garden, unconscious, bloody, and the story just takes off after that, trying to find out who did it. The sisters in the hospital, it was an event going on where it was kind of like you would have thought somebody would have seen something. And we go to find out, as the story unfolds, that people, you know, they good at keeping secrets. They good at keeping secrets. They good at, you know, hiding stuff. It's a lot of secrets going on in this book. But that is pretty much what happens in this story. Was it thrilling? I don't know that it was really thrilling more than it was a mystery. It did keep me wanting to find out kind of who done it. Was I surprised? Yes, I think I was a little bit surprised of who did do it, because there are a few people in this book that you looking at side at like, did you? Especially in regards to the men. When I was reading this story, automatically I kind of wasn't feeling it, because I'm like, who did this to this little girl? And you know, it looked like it might have been some foul adults in the area, but it ended up being a pretty good book. And at this point, I'm loving Lisa Jewell. Like I said, this was an older one, so would I say pick it up? For sure, for sure. If you are a Lisa Jewell fan and you're going through her backlog, this would be something good to read if you have not already. Okay, the next book that I have is Every Last Lie by Mary Kubica. This, like I said, was an audio book. Let me see. In this book as well, there is a female character by the name of Clara. I gotta tell you guys, I really did not like this book. I really, you know, I wanted to like it because it's Mary Kubica, or however you say it. I've heard a couple of different pronunciations, but it was miscommunication. It was plot holes, and it wasn't a whole lot of dialogue in this book, which I can tolerate, you know, not having some dialogue, but I felt like it really wasn't a lot of dialogue. And then at the end of the day, it was sad. It was a sad, sad story. So I don't even know. Let me see. I'm trying to see if I can get you guys, let me see, the synopsis, because I don't believe that, do I have the synopsis on here? One moment. Okay. All right. So this story is coming back to me. And guys, I did read this kind of early in June. But in this story, Claire's husband, Nick, he had took his daughter out and ended up in a car accident. And unfortunately, the father ended up unalived and the daughter survived. And so during this whole time, they are trying to figure out, you know, what happened with the crash? How did it happen? Fingers are pointing to a couple of people who probably could do it, who probably could have done it based off of the type of car that it was, that was seen in the area at the time. And so Clara, she spends a lot of time trying to do her own sleuthing, as they call it, her own police work. She's trying to figure it out, because I think the police were more or less saying the accident was due to negligence of her husband. So, but she's not believing that, because her daughter is constantly telling her that it was a bad guy following them. And she throughout this whole story, she's trying to warn them it was somebody else. And so basically that is the whole story of Clara trying to figure out who did it and whatnot. So with that being said, there was a lot of, like, I felt like narration. But it was okay. I gave it a 3-star. Would I suggest this? I don't know that I would suggest reading this book. Now, it probably would be okay if you did it on audio, which I did. But to read this book, no, I wouldn't suggest it. I mean, 3 stars is not bad at all. and it did send you on a little ride. You know, once I got invested in it, it wasn't so bad that I just wanted to DNF it. So let me leave it at that. Okay. So yeah, I mean, try it out if you don't mind miscommunication. Dialogue, no dialogue. But other than that, you know, try it out for yourself. The next book that I did on audio was Three Little Lies by Danielle Stewart. I really enjoyed this book. You have your female main character being Jo, and she had her daughter Megan and her husband Everett. Excuse me, guys. This was a domestic. Y'all know I love me a domestic thriller. It was a pretty good story from the get-go. And we talking about some bougies, honey. They in this community where all the wives trying to, you know, strut they stuff, and we're, you know, the kids are going to private school and what have you. And Jo, she's a very protective mother. Like, I mean, I kind of get it because the son, you know, has some challenges with allergies and different things like that. Then you have her preteen that is, you know, she wanting to be grown. She don't want to follow no rules already. Okay. And so she's being protective of her. You also get some background on Jo to the reason why she's like she is. And then pretty much, one of the mothers at the school has convinced her to, allow a transfer student from, I can't remember where that student was from, over in another country somewhere, child, not even another country. I can't remember where she was from. It may have been, but they talked her into, you know, getting this transfer student to come live with them for, like, I think it was like 6 weeks or something. And right off jump, this transfer student, and what was her name? Her name was what was that girl name? Eden, I believe. I believe her name was Eden. She comes across as very sweet, you know, respectful, you know, wanting to please them, so appreciative of them, you know, giving her this opportunity. And listen, this story, I mean, probably by her first week there, bad stuff started happening, which would make you focus on her through this story. I mean, you watching her the whole time, and it was, I can't even say anymore because it would cause spoilers. But I'm telling you, this domestic thriller is one that you would definitely want to pick up. I am looking forward to reading more of Danielle Stewart's books. Okay, so that was it for my audiobooks that I did. And now we are going to jump into all of my books that I've actually read, my hardcover or, you know, hard copy books. And we are going to start with Stacy Willingham, Only If You're Lucky. All right. I was just wanting to read one of Stacy Willingham's newer books so much before I jumped into her backlog. So this one, I believe came out in 2023, but I just had started hearing stuff about it like this year. And this one I ended up giving a 3.5. You have your female main characters. So there were 4 main characters. There was Lucy, Margot, Salome, Nicole, and then there was another young lady that was friends with Margot in this story. So you have a lot of POVs. I I can't even remember half of the guys' names. But you're looking at a story that is taking place at it starts out from high school and going into college. And let me take a pause right here and say that this story, this college that is being spoken about in this book, is actually the description, the scene is really a true place, based on the author's experience at college. The place that she talks about in this book really exists. So I thought that was pretty cool, because when you read the book, you would be like, oh, wow. But I just wanted to tell you guys that. So you are looking at Lucy, who is she is the boss, okay? They all end up at the same college, but Margot decides to not live another year with the girl that she was living in, because Lucy had chose her to come and stay with her, Salone, and Nicole to share rent and what have you. At that point, it is at that point that Lucy, I'm telling you, she somehow, gets Margot to change it to some other kind of girl from what she was, okay? And of course, there's some, people who had become unalive. Matter of fact, Margot's best friend, prior to her even going to college, who she was supposed to go to college with and room with, ends up unalived. And that was a mystery in itself. That was a big talk of the town. They never did figure out what happened there. I think they may have said it was accidental or something like that, but Margot never really believed that. But then the guy who her best friend was dating, who could have been a suspect, evidently he wasn't, because nothing happened from that. So they're all going on with their life, and the story just takes on from there to the point where it spills over. That whole incident spills over. There's a lot of things that these girls and guys are doing, college stuff too, partying, all these things, but some weird stuff takes place during this time, and it ties into what originally happened before they even went to college, if that makes sense. I gave it a 3.5. It was pretty good. I would recommend it. I will recommend it. It was thrilling. It did have me intrigued. But it wasn't the best thriller, of course. But I would say read it. I would say you could pick it up. If you're a thriller person, a thriller girly, you probably would be able to chew on this more than somebody who's not. I think that somebody who is not a thriller person, this wouldn't be a good book for you to start with. So yeah, that's what I got to say about that one. The next book that I have, you guys, is Count My Lies by Sophie Stava. Now, y'all, I have to admit, I just knew this book was going to be a 5-star. I did think that this book was going to be a 5-star, but it wasn't. I only ended up giving this book a 3.5, okay? You have your your female main character, Salone, who she's the one who can't help but tell lies, child. Everything that come out her mouth is a lie, all right? But she goes to this park one day, and there's a man and his daughter there, and the daughter gets stung by a bee, and she, goes over and tells this man she a nurse when she is not, okay? And she gets the stinger out of the little girl's foot, and the guy instantly, you could tell, is like feeling some type of connection to her or something. And I won't say how she got to become a nanny, but after a while, she ends up becoming a nanny for, what was his name? His name was Jay, and his wife's name was Violet. Okay? She ends up becoming a nanny for them, and the story unfolds from there. I was very, very surprised of the outcome of this story. I mean, I actually, the more I think about it now, I probably could have went ahead and gave this book a 4-star. I'm gonna think about it, or at least a 3.75, because it was, the plot, it was pretty clever, you know, and I would not have guessed the ending. I would have not have guessed the ending at all. So I might have to let this marinate. I may go back and change the rating for this book, but for now we're gonna stay at 3.5. The next book that I have is not a thriller, believe it or not, but it is Rebecca Searle's Expiration Date. This is another one that I felt like would have been a 5-star for me based off of the recommendations, all the other YouTubers that I watched that talked about this book. I thought that it would definitely be a 5-star, but it wasn't. It wasn't. I'm going to read my review that I have on Fable and Goodreads. If you are not following me on Goodreads or Fable, shameless plug here, you guys are welcome to go and join me there. Tracy's Open Book. I'm sure you'll be able to find me and follow me there, because a lot of times I'll give a little bit more of a review there, because, you know, it's fresh in my mind at the time, and so I'm able to speak of it compared to coming back 3 and 4 weeks later and try to fill you in on a book. Because if it's not a 5-star book that absolutely blew my mind and I'm gonna remember the characters and everything about it, it's in and out, honey. It's like this was one of those cases. They list this book as kind of a big romantic kind of thing, but I don't know. I felt different about this because I went on a whole tangent, and I'm going to read it for you, but you do have your female main character, Daphne, in this story, and every time right before she gets in a relationship with a guy, she receives this little slip of paper in all kind of weird kind of ways. She'll receive this slip of paper telling her how long her relationship is going to last. And it happens, I don't know, I didn't count how many times she went through quite a few guys in this book until she gets to our main male character, Jake, where things start to change. And I did enjoy this book. It was different. But I'm going to read what I wrote, just because, you know, I thought this book was interesting. It says, this was my first read by this author, and overall I enjoyed it. It was not what I expected, but the premise was good, and I felt like it was true for anyone who has gone through relationships looking for the right person to spend their life with. I said that because it made me think about it. No, we don't receive a slip of paper necessarily saying how long we will have with this person, but we still do go kind of through the emotional things of being in relationships. Some people, you know, jump. They meet somebody, they they could meet them at a younger age or whenever they meet them, and that could be their first relationship and their only relationship. But for those of us who, you know, may have went through high school, grade, whatever, you know, and had several relationships, you experience so many people, so many things, situationships and whatnot, till you finally get to that one person. And so I thought that this book was really relatable when it comes to relationships and life and how we go through life trying to find that one. And then I went on to say, not every relationship works out, and so it expires and we move on to the next. And that is true in all cases, okay? This all happens while we are personally dealing with ourselves and whatever we are going through in life until we find that someone who can truly commit to walk through the journey with us and us with them. Not sure why I just said all of that, but anywho, it was a little slow and it picked up really fast the last few chapters of the story, which is why I gave it 4 stars. Looking forward to reading another book by this author. It did definitely get a little slow because I think what did it was the fact that we already knew it wasn't going to last, you know. With all of the guys before Jake, you kind of was like, well, I already know it's not going to work out, so I really don't care what happens with the rest of the relationship with the other people, you know, because really it was just the same old thing. She met him, she did what she did, and it was over, you know. And so I think that was the slow part of the book, but once again, that's just my opinion. I definitely would read another book by her. I have In 5 Years on the Shelf Waiting by her, and I would recommend it, all right? The next book that I have is The Guest by B.A. Paris. Once again, I just knew this one, and this was my first. I believe this was my first read by this author. And it was good. I thought it was going to be at least a 5-star. I really did, based off of the synopsis. But you have your female main character, Iris, and then the main male character, Gabriel, okay? Gabriel and Iris, they have these friends, and the guest who shows up in the house is not a spoiler. Laura, they come home from being somewhere, and Laura up in their house, okay? Laura is up in their house. She done made herself comfortable. You know, she done changed stuff around. She doing all kind of stuff. And I'm thinking right off jump, just reading the synopsis, somebody gonna get some hands. Somebody is gonna get some hands when we walk in to see you have done something, but that was not the case, and it threw me for a loop. Laura was a very persuasive, you know, it appeared at the beginning, you know, that she had a lot of nerve, okay? She had a lot of moxie, okay? She, you know, she was just bold, okay? But as you go through the story and you figure out while she's there, I believe that's not a spoiler either. Okay, her husband, Pierre, Laura's husband, Pierre, he had an affair, which is what led her there in the first place. But I'm like, excuse me, ma'am, don't you have access to a phone? You could have called me first. And she explains why she didn't, but still, and they were so good of friends that I believe they all both had keys to their houses, which is why she could get in, or was it that they visited so much? It was something to where it's not like she broke in, but still. But her husband, what turns it into a thing is, well, I won't even say that. Some things goes on, some stuff go on, and in that Laura becomes, all of them become really close friends with this other couple, and Laura becomes really close friends with Day Gardner. Okay, so you can let your mind work, all right, and try to figure out what happens in that situation. But it's a good one. I'm not gonna say anymore because I'll tell too much if I do. This was good. I would definitely go say pick this up. It's a page turner. You are going to want to read this to the end. It was not very long at all. And drug out, I mean, yes, it was 300, a little over 300 pages, but you go through it really fast. Chapters are short. I would definitely recommend this. The last book that I have, and I'm telling you, June flew by for me. I don't know if it was because, I had my granddaughter here visiting or what it was, but I totally forgot that I read The Perfect Divorce. I totally, in June, not that I didn't forget that I read it, but I didn't realize I had just read it at the beginning of June. And I really had to think about this one because I had originally, I feel like this one was better than the first one. Well, yes, I feel like this one was better than the first one. Because you just find out more things about Sarah Morgan, which is the female main character in the story. And then if you go back to The Perfect Marriage, her husband Adam, he became unalived. Not unalived. He was accused. He had an affair. He was accused of a bunch of stuff. He ended up taking the rap for the woman who he was sleeping with because she ended up unalive. Okay. Sarah had to defend him, but it didn't matter. He still went to jail, right? So here we are, 10, 11 years later. Sarah done went on with her life. She done found a new man or whatever. Her new husband ends up cheating on her as well, which hence leads us to her divorcing him. She ain't playing this time. We getting a divorce. And with that happening, while they're going through all the things that you go through when you're filing for divorce and all of that, some new information, DNA, has been uncovered from her first husband. And so the case is opened back up, which puts Sarah in the spotlight again. There's a lot. This book, it even though it was shorter than the first one, it's gonna make you turn the pages. It's gonna make you turn the pages. Never would have guessed the ending of this one. It's a lot of cat and mouse going on in this book because her husband that she's getting a divorce from, Bob, he playing these games, she playing these games. They both after each other, but I'm telling you, at the end of the day, never guessed the ending, and it was good. This was good, okay? Geneva Rose so far has not disappointed me. So I'm looking forward to reading anything else she got coming out. Well, I won't say anything else. It got to top this. It got to top this, okay? But she is an auto buy for me. So I would definitely say go and pick this up. All right, friends? And that is the 8 books that I read for the month of June. If you have not done so already, I would appreciate it so much if you would share this video, like, comment, subscribe. Please comment, leave this emoji. And you guys, I am looking forward to sharing my July TBR with you, which is going to be sooner than later. Look out for a vlog that I have coming. in regards to my trip to Columbus, Ohio for the book fair. There are going to be some well-known authors there. Whether or not I get to meet them, I don't know, but there will be a vlog. So I'm super excited. But until next time, friends, keep being who you are, and that's a star. So keep shining and keep smiling. Bye.